Stop whining about being constantly tired. Does your pathetic stress switch feel jammed in the on position because you lack the discipline to find the off button? That feeling of being perpetually overwhelmed, weak, and utterly exhausted is called chronic stress. And no, it is not just in your weak mind. It is a brutal physical state, driven by a relentless flood of toxic stress hormones. The absolute main enemy? A hormone called cortisol. In this video, we will break down the hard science of exactly why you fail. We will expose how your body's alarm system gets stuck on pathetic high alert. More importantly, I command you to learn 5 hardcore, science-backed protocols to finally crush that non-stop stress response, force those hormones into submission, and seize total control. No more fake relaxing. Start actively dominating your nervous system. To figure out how to obliterate chronic stress, you first need a brutal reality check of what happens under the hood. We all possess a built-in survival engine called the hypothalamic-pituitary-adrenal axis, the HPA axis. Consider it your body's ultimate high-performance alarm system. When you face a real threat, a brutal deadline, a vicious confrontation, or an actual predator, your brain sounds a massive alarm. This alarm triggers an explosive hormonal cascade. Your adrenal glands, sitting like engines on top of your kidneys, receive the absolute command and fire a cocktail of hormones, strictly adrenaline and cortisol. Adrenaline is your first strike. It is that violent jolt of pure energy, the heart-pounding, hyper-focused state of absolute fight or flight. Cortisol, the primary stress hormone, follows instantly. In violent, short bursts, cortisol is your ultimate weapon. It floods your system with raw glucose for explosive energy and shuts down useless functions like digestion so you can strictly survive and conquer the threat. Once you destroy the danger, the alarm must shut off, forcing your hormone levels back to baseline. Here's your pathetic problem. What happens when you never conquer the danger? Your modern threats are not lions you must fight. They are weak excuses, endless emails, fake money panic, and toxic news cycles. Because you let these stressors dominate you, your HPA axis never receives the victory signal. It is like a cheap car alarm stuck screaming all night long, and that equals chronic stress. When your alarm system is perpetually broken, your body drowns in toxic cortisol. Instead of powerful short bursts, you suffer chronically poisoned levels, and this is exactly where you destroy yourself. Those constant adrenaline spikes violently damage your blood vessels and arteries, skyrocketing your risk for high blood pressure, massive heart attacks, and strokes. High cortisol destroys your metabolism, forcing fat gain and insulin resistance. Your brain takes a massive beating too. Prolonged exposure to these stress chemicals physically damages brain structures like the hippocampus and prefrontal cortex, which you strictly need for dominant memory and laser focus. Worse, it physically enlarges your amygdala, your weak fear center, making you more terrified of stress and trapping you in a cycle of absolute failure. This is exactly why chronic stress forces pathetic brain fog, zero concentration, and memory failures. Over time, living in this weak state of high alert massively multiplies your risk for crippling anxiety and depression. So if you feel perpetually irritable, exhausted, incapable of sleeping, and plagued by headaches, weak digestion, and zero focus, you are not crazy. Those are the absolute textbook symptoms of a weak body and brain actively collapsing under the crushing weight of chronic stress. Listen up, that sounds like a total disaster. And it is. But here is the mandatory turning point. Stop acting powerless. Your system is not permanently broken. The exact same brain that trapped you in this pathetic stress loop possesses the raw power to absolutely smash out of it. We hold mountains of hard scientific evidence proving you can consciously dominate your HPA axis and crush your cortisol levels. It demands pure discipline and the correct tactical protocols. Stop making excuses. Let us dive into the ultimate user manual for your nervous system. First protocol: move your body with absolute aggression. You hear weak people say, exercise busts stress. But let's dictate the specifics. Relentless, moderate intensity training is the absolute most effective weapon to conquer stress hormones. When you train, you physically execute the stress cycle your body demanded. Your system prepared for fight or flight, and your physical training delivers the flight, ordering your brain that you have completely annihilated the danger. Hard science proves physically dominant people generate a radically lower cortisol response when attacking new stressors. Here is your mandatory target: Execute exactly 150 to 200 minutes of moderate intensity training every single week. This is not about mindless self-destruction at the gym. A furious 30-minute march every single day is non-negotiable. Cycling, swimming, or aggressive physical movement are mandatory options. Your sole objective is forcing your heart rate up so you can barely speak, absolutely incapable of singing. This exact intensity forces a massive endorphin strike and crushes cortisol over time without breaking your physical machine. Second rule, you must dominate your sleep. Sleep and cortisol fight on a seesaw. Cortisol must peak in the morning to violently wake you up and must crash at night so you recover. Chronic stress flips this into a total failure. High nighttime cortisol causes pathetic insomnia, leaving you wired and tired. Failing to sleep violently spikes cortisol the next day, trapping you in a pathetic cycle of weakness. To destroy this cycle, you must dictate your sleep. Execute a rigid sleep schedule, absolutely including weekends, to command your internal clock, which dictates your cortisol rhythm. Next, absorb 10 to 15 minutes of raw, direct morning sunlight the second you wake up. This is a non-negotiable biological command telling your brain to activate. In the evening, execute the opposite. Kill the lights and banish screens for 1 full hour before bed to force your brain to manufacture melatonin, the ultimate sleep weapon. Third, weaponize your fuel to annihilate stress. What you eat either builds a weak body or forges a machine. Shoveling sugar and processed garbage violently spikes your blood sugar, which instantly triggers a massive cortisol strike. Alternatively, a nutrient-dense diet actively builds an indestructible body. Demand whole, anti-inflammatory fuel. Consume heavy magnesium, spinach, avocados, and dark chocolate to dictate stress and sleep. Force down omega-3 fatty acids found in wild salmon, walnuts, and chia seeds to crush cortisol and obliterate inflammation. Shovel in vitamin C from berries and citrus because it actively forces your body to metabolize toxic cortisol. Finally, consume complex carbs from whole grains and dense veggies, which lock down your blood sugar and block those weak cortisol spikes. Treat your diet strictly as arming your physical machine with the exact ammunition required to absolutely win the war against stress. Fourth, enforce active recovery with the physiological sigh. When your nervous system is trapped on high alert, simply trying to relax is for losers. You must deliver a violent biological command to the brain, ordering it to stand down immediately. The absolute fastest, most lethal way to execute this is the physiological sigh. Validated by elite neuroscientist Dr. Andrew Huberman, it is a forced breathing protocol that manually hits the biological reset button, allowing you to consciously execute and slaughter stress in real time. Here is your order. Execute a double inhale, followed by a massive, extended exhale. Rip a deep breath in through your nose. Immediately, without exhaling, violently snap another short inhale to stretch your lungs to maximum capacity. Finally, force out a massive, slow, controlled exhale through your mouth. That is 1 rep. The hard science is undeniable. The double strike inhale violently pops open the dead air sacs in your lungs, forcing a massive, hyper-efficient purge of toxic carbon dioxide. The extended exhale is the ultimate weapon. It instantly triggers your vagus nerve, the primary superhighway of your parasympathetic rest and digest system, immediately slamming the brakes on your heart rate and commanding your brain to kill the stress response. Just 1 to 3 of these executions forces absolute dominant calm. Before I deliver your final, absolute most lethal technique, if you want to stop being weak, hit that subscribe button right now. My mission is arming you with brutal, actionable science to force physical dominance, and your absolute support fuels this entire operation. Finally, the 5th protocol demands altering your fundamental relationship with stress through cognitive reframing. Listen strictly. Your stress response fires based on what your weak brain perceives as a threat. It is almost always your pathetic interpretation of an event, not the event itself, that triggers the hormonal disaster. Cognitive reframing, the absolute core of cognitive behavioral therapy, is the brutal practice of hunting down and destroying those weak, stress-inducing thoughts. The execution is simple, but absolutely lethal. First, when you feel pathetic stress, identify the automatic weak thought. Let us assume it is, "I'm going to completely fail this presentation." Second, violently interrogate that thought. Is it a 100% absolute fact? What is the dominant perspective? For example, I am tested, I am prepared. Even if I face friction, I will absolutely conquer it. Third, Violently overwrite the weak thought with the dominant reality. By executing this, you slaughter the stress cascade before it even breathes. You actively train your brain to stop acting like a coward for every minor obstacle. You prove you dictate reality. Consistent execution builds indestructible resilience. You stop acting like a victim and become the absolute master of your biology. Time to lock this down. Chronic stress is not an excuse. It is a pathetic biological failure caused by a weak, overactive alarm system. But you possess the absolute power to violently reset it. We covered 5 non-negotiable, science-backed weapons, weaponizing physical training to conquer the stress cycle, dominating your sleep to dictate your cortisol rhythm, arming your body with anti-stress fuel, executing the physiological sigh to manually override your nervous system, and brutally reframing your weak thoughts to destroy stress at its core. Escaping chronic stress is not about one lucky break. It requires pure, relentless discipline every single day. It demands you stop making excuses and put in the work. One aggressive workout, one perfect night of recovery, one tactical meal, and one commanded breath at a time. This is exactly how you violently reclaim your health and forge an unstoppable mind. You possess the weapons. You possess the intelligence. No excuses. Execute now.